You're listening to the ESO Network, your station for all things geek.
Hey, music nerds. Welcome back to Modern Musicology. My name is Alan, and here is Rob Levy.
Hey, every breath you take, you'll be listening to us.
Wow. And Stephanie Seymour.
I have to say it. Every move you make, you'll be listening to us. If Rob didn't do that, I wouldn't have. That's Rob's
wow.
fault.
I think that's going to be our new thing now. We all have to start with a quote from a song lyric as our intro. Thanks, Rob. You've started us off on a new thing. So this week, in case you didn't pick up on our subtle clue.
Yeah.
So if you remember, if you listened to last episode, we ended with, hey, we'll see you in 2 weeks. We have no idea what our topic is going to be, but we'll be here. Well, like it usually does, a topic just dropped into our laps. There's been this lawsuit going on between the members of the police for a while now, but it really hit the news this past week because it's supposed to be wrapping up on the weekend that we're recording. So a lot of stuff came out about this thing. So we just thought we would tackle that. We're going to be talking about the police. We're going to talk about our history with the police as listeners or concert goers. We're going to talk about some of the lawsuit and just all kinds of things. So how long have you guys been into the police? Because I don't remember. I have no idea when the first time. It had to be 78-ish, when they were on the radio, early. But I don't remember specifically. They were just always there.
Okay. I specifically got into them from MTV. And it was definitely Ghost. It was Ghost in the Machine tour. But then, of course, I back cataloged everything. And they just so everybody knows, in case people don't know this yet from listening to this podcast, this is my favorite band of all time. And it's the first concert I ever saw, January 22nd, 1982 at the Garden with, of course, the Go-Go's opening. Yeah. And so they're my favorite band in the universe, and they always will be, even though there's crazy shit going on with them still, personally, right?
Yeah. What about you, Rob?
So my first memories of the police, like most people, are probably through MTV. And oddly enough, going to my local swimming pool because they were on radio here. And I remember hearing some of their songs on the radio when I was hanging out as a teenager at the pool. And then later, more deeply through my local college radio station.
Mm-hmm. Sweet.
Stephanie, I should have asked.
Yeah.
Since MTV was your first thing, what was it that drew you in? Was it the songs or was it the three cute blonde dudes?
Both, I think.
Both,
I absolutely love their music. Like every little thing she does is magic I think the first video that I saw. And it's still my favorite song today. I just love them so much musically, but they were, and they were super cute. So
I mean, there's nothing wrong with that.
No,
that's what MTV was the best at.
I had my posters all over my room. Yep.
Right. So there's this lawsuit that's been going on for a while, and let's just start out by talking about that. The police have been around for a long time. This is a band that Stewart started and Sting joined, and it was the two of them plus another guy for a while. The other guy left after 6 months or something, and then Andy Summers comes in. And as they're going into their recording, they came up with this pact, basically. I don't know that it was even a written down agreement at that point, that if one guy wrote a song, obviously, when you sell a record, the bulk of the royalties goes to the songwriter. And they had an agreement that if one of them wrote a song, the other two guys would get a 15% cut for adding to the arrangement of the song. Mm-hmm. And that's all fine and good, but the way that the original, and at some point it did get like into a formal contract, and the wording, of course, is a little bit antiquated because there was no such thing as streaming or anything like that. So there are 3 key phrases in the wording of the agreement. One is mechanical income. The other one
royalties.
Public performance fees, and quote, from the manufacturer of records. So the sticking point is that things like all of their albums have been enormously successful, and all of their singles get streamed a million times a day. And some of them, like Every Breath You Take, has been streamed like 1 billion times since it's come out, you know. And Andy and Stewart are basically saying we've never got paid royalties on any of that stuff. Sting's point is that based on those 3 phrases in the contract, he doesn't think that streaming should count as a sale,
but
even though
bullshit.
He makes money from it. Streaming should come under public performance, not sales of records. So that's why they've not been paid all the stuff that they say that they should have been paid.
I mean, you have to change with the times, man. It's like, this is
exactly
what it is now. He's such a dick.
Exactly.
Right.
Right.
The other thing too is outside of all the Police records, the Biggie song that samples the Police, Sting gets all the money from that, and the other 2 don't. And that is almost as much money as just the money he gets every year for Every Breath You Take, which is crazy.
Crazy.
Yeah, he makes an insane amount of money on that one song. And
So
then you
just
consider all their other ones,
Yeah. So just
Like-
that alone, wouldn't you be like, hey, yeah, sure. Like Rob, you sent us a Facebook post today, and it was like, about this. And one of the guys' comments under that was like, imagine if Sting never joined the band. And I think that goes both ways. So this is to one of our topics, right? Like that we had spoken about in a previous podcast. Like, this is a band where you cannot like get rid of one member and it be anything remotely the same, right? If you got rid of Sting, it wouldn't be the same. If you got rid of Andy, it wouldn't be the same. If you got rid of Stewart, there's no other incarnation of this band that is the Police. So it's true in that way. Like, what if Sting never joined the band? But also, to give him credit too, there's no band without him either. I mean, there's no band without the other 2 either. So. But that doesn't take away from I am mostly agreeing, I feel like, with the other 2 guys, because how much of a douche can you be about not sharing some of the money at this point? Are you not rich enough?
I mean, come on. Sting has some deep ass pockets,
right?
It's not like he needs that extra 2 million that hasn't been paid to those boys.
And we shouldn't paint this too that like Sting has all the money and the other 2 don't. I mean, Stuart Copeland has a very successful soundtrack career, and Andy Summers has like a huge photography career and a nice side hustle with a nice other band, and he'll sit on jazz shows and stuff too. So they all are doing very well. Just Sting is probably doing exceedingly weller than the other 2.
Weller.
Well, yeah. I mean, they all have their side hustles, and they all make money on their side hustles. But the one thing that they have jointly, he is making the bulk. I mean, and that's fine because he has written the bulk of the material. But,
and
they're saying
like they had signed agreement and everything. But at the same time, like I said, things change. So you have to evolve. Like, the streaming is a thing now. They're making a shit ton of money from that. Anytime, just think about it, was in Stranger Things too, right? In episodes, in seasons 2 and 4. So like, just imagine the amount of money just from that, and the recognition and the TikTok plays they got from that alone.
Exactly. I mean, look what that show did for Kate Bush.
Oh God. Yeah.
I mean, and I think that that's a little bit different situation because Kate's profile hasn't been nearly as big over the last 20-ish years as the Police have maintained a huge profile, because Sting tours all the time, because Stewart continues to be active, so they keep their profile high, even though the band hasn't been together in 1 million years. But this contract situation, I went through that once before. Like, this is 20, 25-ish years ago when I used to work for an indie publishing company, at that time, there was this emerging format called ebooks that nobody knew anything about, and nobody knew if it was going to be a viable concern, 2 years down the road or whatever. And none of the contracts that we had with our authors had ever been written with that kind of thing in mind. Electronic rights were not a thing when most of these contracts were written. So it was my job as the assistant guy. I had to go through every contract. I had to contact every author and we gave them the option to, you can, retain your electronic rights on these books. Even though we have the books for print, you can have your electronic rights if you choose. Now, if you do, you'll have to figure out how to market ebooks and all that kind of stuff. If you want us to retain that, then we'll make an addendum to your contract. So it'll be covered. You'll get royalty payments based on the sales of any ebooks that we release, but then we will be the ones that are responsible for creating them and marketing them and distributing them and all that kind of stuff. So that was a process, but it was a necessary process because we're talking about a format that did not exist before that point.
Yes.
And that's exactly what streaming rights is doing. So I don't know. Things should definitely be more flexible.
To that point, and just something that we might want to talk about when we're going to do a show about AI in the future. My songs are part of this royalty collecting agency called Sound Exchange, and they just sent out to every artist on there something to sign or not sign that says that your music may or may not be used for AI, generated purposes or whatever. So
interesting.
Anyway, yeah. So you have to keep up with the times. Things change, and especially now.
But, here's Andy and Stuart who are saying, you owe us a ton of money for money that you have made on these songs that we helped create. I mean, you wrote the songs, but we definitely helped create the song. And, that's interesting because one of the articles that Rob sent us goes into some detail about Every Breath You Take.
Yeah.
And how that song was really kind of boring in Sting's original demo, and they recorded it. Stewart wanted to put his Stuart Copeland kind of drum pattern on it, and Sting was like, no, I don't want that. I want you to do this straight flat beat through the whole thing. I don't want any embellishments. I don't want fancy. I want it to be this. And they fucking fought about that because Stewart's like, you're not letting me be the drummer. You're not letting me do what I do. And Sting's like, I want you to do what serves the song, and doing a straight 4/4 beat serves the song. Now, Andy comes in and lays down that guitar part that completely transforms the song. So I think it's interesting to kind of look and see, like when you're talking about one guy wrote the song, the other two contributed to the arrangement of it. Like, how many different situations are there? Like, how much input did they have? And it doesn't matter how much input they had because their agreement was 15% of royalties goes to us.
Right.
But it's still just like, it's really interesting to see how much division of labor there is, I guess, and how much difference there is from one song to another song.
I know just from experience for the Aquanettas, for our band, first of all, because of this very reason, we split everything 4 ways equally, because it was like we always had a thing, like, even though Debbie and Jill wrote most of the songs, that we all contributed our own thing. And there were certain songs that I barely needed to like think about, but then there was stuff that I, feel like I did much more on than,
right.
It's just it's a push and pull, or a give and take in creating the songs,
Yeah. Another example that I was listening to an analysis of this song, and that is Every Little Thing, which is one of Stephanie's favorite songs ever.
Yep.
And that is such a complex song. It is so layered, and it's so like chord progression. The key that it's in is so weird, and there are so many parts layered on top, like piano parts and all this kind of thing, that make that song what it is. So if you listen to Sting's original demo, it's him and he's almost playing like a flamenco kind of part on an acoustic, and that's it. The chord progression sounds much more straightforward. So you have to wonder when they're going in to record these songs, who is it that's making those changes? Is it Sting that's saying, I want, because the basis of the song, the verses is in, and I never knew this, I don't have a good ear, but they're all in a Lydian mode. And then for like the choruses and stuff, it shifts to an Aeolian mode. And it doesn't sound that way in the original demo. And you have to wonder, did Andy say, what if we did this? Because that completely transforms that song. And then the stuff that Stewart puts onto it just completely, reinvigorates that song in a way that it was not in the demo. So you have to wonder how much input these boys had and when didn't they have, I
mean, I get the impression from when I saw Andy Summers live, because he talks about the songs and he plays them. Like he talked about Tea in the Sahara, and then he played it, right?
Ooh,
and one of the things that he talks about is him and Stewart like to tinker with songs in the studio after Sting had left. And that and it was just not because of anything because of him, but it's just that was their way that they functioned as musicians, right? They just clicked very well musically, and those two loved feeding off of each other. It's like, well, let's just mess with this, right? And he was very much my way or the highway, and they were very much from an improvisational background. And so they sort of like, well, let's just mess around with it and see what happens. And if they came up with something they both liked, then they would take it to him the next day. But if it was one of them, I got the impression they kind of all worked through it. But I mean, those guys were always sort of working on songs, even if they liked the song. They tinkered with it, and some of those different arrangements ended up in some of the 2007 tour when they were sort of tweaking the songs a little bit and doing stuff. So I think that those guys were professional musicians, and I think Sting was a professional rock star, if that makes sense. I mean, that's just sort of the mindset that I get from hearing about the Police.
I have always had the impression that he's much more controlling, especially about the songs that he writes. And, that's not unexpected. McCartney can be the same way. He wants even in Wings, when they were like, this is a band, everybody contributes, but I want you to contribute to it my way, basically.
I think he's definitely like, at least out front to the public, he's the leader. I mean, and so, a singer that's also projected on a singer many times too, much of the time too, by an audience, of course. It's like a natural thing. I mean, even though if they didn't feel that way as a band, still that's what the look is. But I think, probably behind the scenes, I think that they probably all contribute a lot more like together than we probably would imagine.
Well, it's interesting on the second album, in the back where it says like all, songs written by whatever, it says all noises by the Police, all arrangements by the Police. So, and I think that's the only album that it says that, where it's basically saying Sting wrote this song, Andy wrote this song, but we all did the arrangements on each one of these songs. I didn't look to see if it's also on the first one. I should have.
Well,
that's me
in
not
any
doing
case,
my homework.
Just their earlier, work.
Yeah. And I don't think it says anything like that on their later ones, but we know that they do contribute. And that goes back to when we had the original guys from Heart, Steve Fossen and Michael DeRozier, who were talking about Little Queen. And Ann and Nancy were very particular about, they were the songwriters, but they were like, but the whole band contributed to the arrangements of the songs. But Ann and Nancy were very clear about keeping a demarcation between songwriting and arranging. And they got a songwriting credit on the song Little Queen because they all contributed so heavily to the arrangement. And Michael was saying, we thought when they said, we're going to give you credit on Little Queen, they meant the album, but it was only the one song. But that one song wasn't any different than any of the way that we recorded any of the material on all of the albums that we did together.
Right.
So it's very interesting. Can be a little dicey.
Yeah, a little dicey, especially when your song is the same title as the album.
Well, yeah,
So, too
that's
bad.
true. Yeah, exactly. And, I don't want to paint a picture of Sting being the bad guy, because I'm sure that's not the case. I'm sure it's just a matter of, they all have legal representation, and the legal representation is probably in the room doing things on their behalf. You know
Yeah,
what
it
I
said
mean?
they weren't even in the room there. Yeah, none of them
Yeah.
were there. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm sure it's the legal representation that's doing most of this work and is being the stickler on these things, because apparently Sting is already paid up $800,000. Now,
He
I don't,
paid that, but I think they
it
said
never
they
said
owe
if that was,
2 million though.
well, they're saying that they're owed at least $1.5 million, if not 2 million, but he's paid 800,000.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's each or total.
Right.
None of the articles said
Yeah.
any differentiation on that.
And I'm wondering too if the timing on this is because maybe there's a set of reissues coming out, or some kind of new, in this age of remastering and putting everything on super nice vinyl and that, and in order for that to all come out, they got to work this out. And it just might be, before we do this, and that could be what's causing this too, right? But it also is pretty widely known that these guys have not all gotten along for a while. Although it's weird because I think they get along until they talk about their music.
And it's from what Stewart says, it seems like they do get along when they're not in a room together, but when they're in the studio and they're working, it gets contentious.
Yeah, there's been
and that's,
he said.
Yeah, and that's just the creative spirit. That's just three strong-willed guys who all have a creative sense and all want to contribute, and one feels like he's contributed 80% and the other has 20%.
Right. Rob, though, you said for possible like box set or something, but they already put out, like, I have that giant box set that they already put out.
Yeah,
I have one that came out a couple of years ago. It looks like a sheriff badge or something on it. But
yes,
they're releasing everything on all these high gloss vinyl box sets. They're doing like, high gloss vinyl. And just because a band now has had one box set doesn't mean they get another.
Yeah.
I mean, everything now is nostalgia, and the way that the 80s are selling right now, all these records, that you and I bought when we were kids, they're suddenly remastering. I mean, they are remastering and reissuing Men Without Hats records. Okay. That is the world we live in. Right. So, it very easily could be that there's some other motivation besides just the band wanting to get paid. It might be this has to get taken care of, and they have to redo the legal language. It could be a number of things that we just don't know about.
That's true. Yeah, who knows what's going on behind the scenes? Like, why now? I mean, especially if they've known about this situation for so long, why is it suddenly, a big thing?
Unless maybe just the court date happened, it could have been just pending, but I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. Here's another wrinkle in this whole thing. Sting tours and he plays police songs on his tours and he makes money that way. And clearly that falls under public performance, because that's exactly what it is. But like Stewart, he did an album called Police Deranged and did a tour where he's performing in different cities with, like a pickup orchestra in every city. Like he played here with the Atlanta Symphony Orchestra. And so he's got an album of police songs. I don't think there's a single track on that album that's one that he wrote. I'm pretty sure they're all Sting songs because those are the hits. And he goes on tour. So what about the royalties from that?
That's interesting.
I mean, he gets his performer royalty. So, and I'm sure the record label is paying Sting the royalties that he is owed. I don't know. I mean, it's a weird situation.
When I saw Andy Summer, he played a bunch of police songs, maybe 5 or 6, but he did them without vocals.
Yeah.
Which I thought was interesting, which is really kind of cool to hear, like a band playing without, but like Tea in the Sahara sounds amazing without a band. Right.
Yeah.
And Walking on the Moon does too. Right. So I'm wondering if they just play their own sections of it. I don't know. But even at that point, there has to be some sort of financial compensation for all three of them. Right.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
So that's a fascinating world I don't really know much about, but it also comes down to, I think, the licensing too. I think Sting gets a chunk of the licensing money, but I don't think that the other two do. And I think that's also part of this.
Licensing? You mean mechanical royalties, or you mean
I
like
mean, like, so if they
publishing?
put the Police in a movie or a TV show or a
Oh, yeah,
commercial, yeah,
They certainly would as performers,
yeah,
yeah,
but it would be just like selling one of their albums. It would be like
yeah,
the songwriter gets a cut. Theoretically, the other two arrangers get their cut of that cut.
yep.
yeah.
And then as the performer, they all three get a cut. So there's lots of divisions in this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Anyway, but we've all been Police fans for a long time. And Stephanie, I know
Yeah.
you saw them, but you saw them many more times than I was aware.
Yeah, I did. I saw, well, I mean, I definitely probably just trying to count in my mind, like how many times I must have seen them, but it was only for the Ghost in the Machine tour and the Synchronicity tour. But I went, all around the tri-state area, and they came back a few times. It wasn't like they just did, they had different legs of those tours. So I would think at least between 12 and 14 times. Plus I also went to see them in 2007 for that reunion tour.
Yeah, I wish I'd seen that.
I was
Yeah,
really,
me too.
that was cool because it was New York and it was Halloween, I believe, because like
Ooh.
Sting was dressed as a Joker. They were all dressed up. It was really funny.
Oh, that's
and
so
we had
funny.
behind the stage tickets. So I was watching Stuart Copeland play drums as if I was behind the drum set. It was like the best view I could ever have, and it was really
That's
neat too, because
amazing.
we were pretty close and you could see like the first 10 or 15 rows when they shined the lights into the audience. And like, I'd be like, oh, there's Lenny Kravitz there. Like you kept seeing all these famous people in the first 10 rows.
Oh, that's so cool. Wow.
Yeah.
So what are some of your like memories from those shows?
From those old shows?
Yeah.
Yeah, the first show. Well, like I said to you guys, my first concert, or maybe I just said this to everybody, I don't know. My first concert, yes, I did say that, was the Police. So I remember that concert so well because I was with my friend Julie Langer. Hi, Julie. We were in high school together. And we went with a girl who was 17. I cannot remember her name. I'm so sorry, friend. So I was 15. Julie was 15. And the only reason I was allowed to go into the concert on a train with someone in the city was because there was a 17-year-old with us.
Wow.
But we had seats way high up, and we somehow managed to, in those times it didn't really matter. You could kind of get your way up front if there was a seat available, and there were. And we were like hanging off the railings. It was just crazy. It was like mayhem at the Garden. It really was awesome. And I remember just being like standing on chairs and just hearing people screaming the songs, as the band was playing. And just people were freaking out, like Sting, like it was like the Beatles or something.
Yeah. What about the 2007 tour?
2007 tour.
Did that stack up to your previous shows?
Okay, check this out. I had pneumonia. I didn't know it, but that night I got home and I was so sick that I went to the hospital the next day.
Oh my gosh.
Pneumonia. So like part of me was like, I'm going to die. And I was like shivering and shaking like I was so sick. But part of me was like, this is so great. Like I'm seeing, I think it's stacked up not in a nostalgia way, but in a way like where you can appreciate more of like musicianship as you get older, you can I loved being behind that stage watching Stuart play because that's sort of any drummer's dream, I would think,
I did that a couple of times with Neil Peart.
Oh,
so I know, man. You get that vantage point and you get to watch the master at work.
Yes. So I thought, and Rob, you went to that tour, didn't you?
I did not see them in 2007. I saw them in 1983. I think it was like the 5th or 6th concert I ever went to, but it was amongst my first like arena shows. They played in St. Louis at a place called the Checker Dome, which is our old hockey arena. It was basically a giant barn. And that I saw them on the Synchronicity tour. And I think we were on sort of the back end of that tour. But that's the only time I've seen him. I've got a friend named Ken Laster who has seen Sting. He follows Sting around. He's seen that Stuart Copeland tour that you saw. And I know just from seeing different members of the Police doing different things, is still maniacally happy to see any of them. So I think that, you have fans like you who will see all of the band all together, right? And then you've got people that will go see them partitioned, right? But I'm just sad. I just saw the Police once, and I saw Andy Summers once, and that's it for me.
Wow.
And
I've
Alan,
never seen the Police. I wish I had, but I never did. But I've seen Sting at least 4 times. The first time I saw him was in '86 on his first solo tour.
That's when I saw him.
Yeah. After Dream of the Blue Turtles came out, and I took my best friend Carrie to see him for his birthday. And I was mainly there for my friend Carrie. I didn't really have that much interest, but that show blew me away because this was very different, because this was Sting with a band made up of mostly jazz musicians.
Yeah.
So it wasn't like he's playing Police songs and it sounds like Police songs. These songs are very transformed and sound completely different. And things like I Burn for You. Holy shit. Is that that was such a great, because Omar Hakim, the drummer on that tour, holy cow, he blew my mind. He was so great.
Oh man, I love that song so much.
I do too.
I remember, when the vinyl came out for the Sting Bring On the Night, it came out as an import. I went to my local record store and bought it.
Oh yeah.
And I put it on and I'm like, this sounds absolutely nothing like the Police. I was just blown away by it. I didn't hate it, but I just remembered it like, this is sort of that first, come to Jesus moment when you realize bands live don't always sound on their records, or you've never heard it that extreme. That's the first time I heard an artist sing his songs completely different than they were on the records. And it was just like, I was kind of like obsessed with that for like almost a month and a half and played that thing continuously.
Yeah, I remember that being an import when it first came out. Like, it never got released in the States for a long time. Yeah. And I had to like track down an import copy of it. I'd kind of forgotten about that. But let's see, I saw Sting a couple of times with his solo band in like recent years. And I didn't see him on this last tour. He did Sting 3.0, and that was him and a drummer and a guitar player. And he's basically recreating the lineup of the Police, but with 2 other guys, and they're playing Police stuff more the way it was written and recorded than the way it got turned into, like, especially on that last Police tour where they had like they augmented their stage show with a bunch of other musicians,
Did you like it?
And I didn't see it.
Oh, I thought you said yes. Sorry. I thought you
No, I wish I had. And I actually was supposed to go with my best friend and I ended up not being able to. But 2018, I saw Sting and Shaggy had done that album together. It's called 44876. And that's the 2 like area codes for Jamaica and London. And that tour was phenomenal because they did most all the songs from that album that they recorded together. And then they both did songs from their solo career. It was unbelievable because that album is really good. And, you would never really think Shaggy and Sting together because Sting is so proper and Shaggy is kind of a wild dude. But it really brought Sting back to those like reggae roots that the Police came up from.
Yep.
And, you've seen Sting a lot of times and stuff like that, but I had never seen Shaggy.
Shaggy's awesome.
And dude, that show was so great.
I worked that for Shaggy record. He's so great. I love him.
That's so cool. But they're like playing, a couple of Sting songs. And then, and people are like, yay, Sting. But then like he pulls out Boombastic and things like that. And the place just goes bananas. And it was so much fun. It's one of my favorite shows I've ever seen. It was crazy.
Awesome. Oh my God.
I did not see Stuart when he came through on his Deranged tour. I wish I had.
I wanted to see that too.
Yeah, I wish I'd gone.
This is all making me think also of the kind of like music music movies from the 80s that they were in, like Secret Policeman's Ball, Secret Policeman's Other Ball. And then do you guys remember that movie Erg, the music war? Yeah, Erg, a music war.
Yes, I would never have thought of that if you hadn't brought it up.
Like one of my favorite, like I taped that off of MTV. I still have the VHS. I mean, that is such a great, you can't get that anywhere either.
Yeah.
So, it's such a great well, there's a punk documentary, if ever there was one. That's like the best, just performance wise, like music performance wise. But anyway,
I wonder if you can find it on like YouTube or something, because a lot of that stuff that you can't find anywhere else, you can maybe find it in chunks or something.
They showed Erg at the theater here in St. Louis a couple months ago, and it was a restored print. Yeah, it was a restored print. So I was super happy to see that. I was super excited to see the Oingo Boingo set too, because I hadn't seen that since it came out, and the police set and a couple other things. Yeah.
Yep. Go-Go's are so cute in that. It's before even Kathy Valentine joined.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, like Margot was still in the band.
I remember there was a concert film from the Synchronicity tour that HBO showed like in 84-ish. Or 84, 85-ish.
Yeah.
Oh, and I watched that over and over and over. Because, used to, nothing was on demand. And MTV, you would get the kind of like their version of a TV guide where they, you would have things scheduled and they would show everything like 5 or 6 times per month or whatever. And I watched it every single time.
Yeah.
Oh, that show
I must have
so
seen
great.
It. I just can't remember. That's so weird. What are your 2 favorite Police records, both of you?
Songs or albums?
First album, and then maybe song.
That's hard.
I could say
maybe. Go ahead.
No, I'm just Ghost in the Machine is mine.
Yeah, I think that might be mine also.
Yeah, I think that's it for me. Mainly too, because the first song by the Police that I ever really remember being utterly fascinated with was Invisible Sun.
Ooh,
just because of the layers and the textures on it.
Great song.
Yeah, I love that one. And I'm still a big fan of Alanis Damore. Alanis Damore.
Yeah.
I still like that one a lot.
Mm-hmm.
I probably would like Synchronicity if I didn't hear it all the time, when I was young. I have to say, though, when they did the reissue of that a couple of years ago and they put the extra stuff on it, it was really cool to hear the extra stuff and kind of see where that stuff all came from.
Mm-hmm.
But the stuff I like on Synchronicity is the stuff that's not the hits, which is kind of strange.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I will say, possibly my 2 favorite Police songs are the 2 Synchronicity songs.
Okay.
So that album, is hit or miss. Like it's a phenomenal album, but I don't listen to it as often.
Mm-hmm.
But those 2 songs, those are the standout on that album. I think they're amazing, both of them, for very different reasons. But then, Stuart's got which I love, and
Miss
Andy,
Grodenko?
Mother.
Yeah, Mother is. I can't listen.
Yeah, I love that song.
Sorry.
What?
Mother.
What about Andy's song,
like,
Mother?
Smash my record.
Because that is such a weird ass song.
It's so weird. But no,
then,
I don't.
As far as hits go, I do like King of Pain and Wrapped Around Your Finger.
Yeah,
I like those a lot, even though they're not like. And that those 2 and Every Breath are kind of like not traditional Police songs.
Mm-hmm.
But I like them. I mean,
yeah.
Every Breath You Take. If I don't ever hear that again for the rest of my life, I will not bat an eye at it.
Yeah, I agree.
But Wrapped Around and King of Pain, I love both of those.
Yeah. Besides Invisible Sun, I like Walking on the Moon a lot.
Yeah, I like that one.
So there's a couple songs that have always been some of my favorite Police songs that are not. They're like B-sides or they're whatever.
Yeah.
So the first one and my favorite of them is called A Sermon. It's on the box set, I believe. But oh my God, that's definitely possibly like one of my top 5 Police songs, like fave songs. Also, like we said, I Burn for You from the soundtrack of what the heck? I can't remember the name of the movie. Brimstone and Treacle. Brimstone and Treacle was the movie and the soundtrack.
Yeah.
So that was that's like a sick and amazing song. I love it. And I also love Fallout. And I actually have a copy of a 7-inch single of Fallout, which is there's only 10,000 copies ever pressed. And it was their very first single. And I have
Oh,
one.
yeah. Right.
Mm-hmm.
I also really dig Demolition Man.
Yeah.
Oh, it's so good.
Totally. Yeah.
Rehumanize Yourself is another one that I really like too.
I know. That album is perfect. Ghost in the Machine is perfect.
It really is. It really is. And here's the thing. Their impact, to me, their impact on music is so immense. Like they are so like omnipresent that you forget they only did 5 albums.
I know.
Like the amount of influence that they've had, the impact that they had on the industry seems so much bigger than just 5 albums.
I know.
It's crazy.
And it's crazy too, because like, I want to say 2 for sure, 3 maybe, because Zenyatta Mandata got more popular than the other 2. But like, it's really only 2 huge albums, that had that influence.
Well, I think part of it too is that they were one of the first sort of bands that got lumped into that new wave category, right? That also crossed over into AOR.
Uh-huh.
So they were getting played on like your regular rock station, and then they were getting played on whatever your indie college station was as well. And they also really were developing a foundation amongst people that listened to like reggae or jazz, right? They had sort of like this swing genre thing going on, and they also managed to hit a couple different radios spots, which is really interesting at the time.
Yeah.
Stewart put out a biography years ago that I've read and really enjoyed. And then he had this, I've talked about this before, his side band, Animal Logic. God, I love them.
Oh, that was great.
They only did 2 albums, but I love both of those albums so much.
That's right. I totally spaced on that. I was thinking about Clark Kent, his.
Oh, yes.
Alter ego Clark Kent that he's
exactly.
But yeah. There's so many side projects, and then Andy he's put out solo albums, hasn't he, Rob?
Yeah,
he's done a couple of solo albums. He's got a Brazilian jazz group he plays with.
Yes,
and then he's got his collection of photography books, and then he's doing scores, and he does a lot of stuff too. He's one of these people that's a studio rat too. He's always in his studio messing around with stuff, and he it's really funny when you see him live. He has this clip that he shows where he's walking around Singapore at night, and they go into this bar and they hear people karaoke singing Every Breath You Take. So he just kind of walks in and watches them sing and stuff, and they're singing and they're singing. You see him sort of move his way along the side, and they're singing and singing, and he gets in behind them and starts singing the song with them, right? And then at the end, the guy turns around and sees him, and he freaks out.
I would freak out too.
But he's got an interesting sort of pedigree with the stuff he's doing, as does Copeland, right? They all, and you think about Sting, it's like, who would have made an album with a lute? Who would have thought?
Oh yeah, totally.
Yeah.
And Stewart has, I know that he's a film composer, and he has made bank on scoring films. And I know I can like rattle off a bunch of them, but I looked up his filmography. He, like, his scoring work is so much more extensive than I ever realized. And I just made like a really short list of some of the things that some of them I didn't even know he had done. So there's Rumblefish, which was the first one he did.
Oh my God.
It kind of got known really well for having done that score.
Yes.
But Wall Street, I had no idea that he had scored Wall Street. Wide Sargasso Sea, The Taking of Pelham 1, 2, 3, Good Burger. Fucking Good Burger. She's All That. The TV show Dead Like Me, Equalizer. He did an episode of Desperate Housewives. He did the pilot episode of Babylon 5, which is so interesting that they went and like they reshot the first episode with a different composer who was the guy who did the rest of the series. But Stewart did the original pilot.
Wow.
And then he also did a Star Wars show, Star Wars Droids. So that's crazy.
Yeah.
And there was like like 100 other ones outside of those ones that I mentioned.
I know he's like
So,
Danny Elfman, right? It's like you turn around and he did
yes.
the score. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Oh, I saw Danny Elfman last night on TV
Oh, really?
because on SNL, ASAP Rocky was the performer,
Mhm.
and he had like a band. The music wasn't live, but he had people like miming guitar and drums and stuff, and it was him on drums.
Really?
Yes, it was so funny. I'm like, wait a minute, I know who that is.
You look at his Wikipedia page here. I'm talking about Stuart Copeland. This is like, it
Oh,
does
yeah.
not stop. Like, it's
Exactly.
crazy.
And then, on that 2007 tour, Stewart shot that documentary
Yeah,
called Everyone Stares.
that's great.
And it was basically chronicling that tour, but also the history of the band, because Stewart had spent all those early touring years carrying a camera around with him.
He's like Olivia, our
And
friend Olivia.
I was going to say,
so did Andy. Andy was taking pictures all over every place too, which is kind of interesting.
Right.
But Stuart had the
And-
video.
Yeah.
right. And as you're saying, we've had a few guests on that got their start exactly that same way. Your friend Olivia Serafini Sali, the filmmaker, started just by carrying a camera around and shooting her friends that were in bands. Teresa Kariakis,
Yes.
rock photographer. Oh, that reminds me.
Yes, Teresa has
She
a
has-
project. Yes.
Yes, she
Yes.
has an exhibition that's opening in Nashville very soon. I don't know exactly when, but we have to figure out a way to go.
Well, also, I feel like she's going to take that on the road, she said, too.
She is, yes.
So exciting. I'm so psyched
I
for her.
am so excied.
Yeah.
And that's something that she was talking about when we interviewed her. And I guess it's just taken this long for it to get arranged. But for the listeners, a couple of years ago, Teresa Kariakis, who is known as the punk rock photographer, and carried her camera around to all these clubs where punk was really forming, and has these early pictures of all these different punk bands. And that was one of my favorite interviews we've ever done. She was so much fun. And she still comments here and there on when we post something on our social, she'll like respond. And it's so sweet to always hear from her. But when we get more information about the exhibitions, we will definitely put it out on ours. And then Gina Schock carried her camera around everywhere that the Go-Go's went. And now she has her photography book on the history of the Go-Go's and everything. So I just think that's really cool.
Called Made in Hollywood.
Yes.
That's the Gina Schock book right behind me, right there.
Oh, yes. Awesome. And, I ran a Doctor Who convention for 17 years, and I wish I had, I mean, luckily, my friend Daniel takes pictures of every single thing that he sees in front of his face. So there is some good documentation, but I wish I had more video from my convention. Because, I've been working on this documentary about my convention, and I wish I had more footage.
I can't wait.
Anyway, so that kind of wraps it up for us for the police. We're going to take a very quick break, and we'll be right back to talk about some other stuff. So don't go anywhere.
Winter is coming. Prepare with a fine cigar and listen to the Cigar Nerds podcast. We smoke cigars and talk about movies and all kind of nerdy things. Available at cigarnerdpodcast.com. Also on the ESO network at esonetwork.com.
Okay, we are back. So it's been a while since we've done like picks of the week. So I feel like maybe we need to do picks of the last couple of months because, I've got a backlog of stuff that I've watched and listened to and seen and everything that we just haven't been able to talk about for various reasons. And then, of course, we got Christmas presents. So I'm sure that there's stuff there. So, Rob, you got some stuff that you want to throw at us that you've watched or read or heard that you love?
So I will try to make this as brief as I can. But first, I want to say that January the 23rd is the release date for Reservations, the brand new single from the Tommy Crystal, which is our friends Evan and Paige from Sleepy Kitty's new band. I've heard it. It's incredible. It's just great. Imagine Sleepy Kitty with a bit more crunch to it. There's an album coming, so I'm super excited about that. I've been playing that a lot this week. Also this week, I know Mitski has a new single out called Where's My Phone? And they're great. And then there's a band from Atlanta that I love a lot. They're kind of a shoegazy kind of band. They're called the Silk Daisies. They're fantastic, as well as a band from LA. Has a great band name they're called the Diffident Daffodils, and they're fantastic as well. And then also the new dry cleaning record is out. It's called Secret Love, and they're going places, kids. Just pay attention. And then also another new record is coming from Bridget Calls Me Baby, and imagine the guy from the National singing, Interpol songs, right? It's just the guy's voice is amazing, but they're called Bridget Calls Me Baby. They're from Chicago. Their second album is called Irreversible. They did a fantastic cover of George Michael last year that was hilarious. And then not only...
I hope he and Bridget never break up, because then he'll have to change the name of the group.
Well, yeah. We'll just call him Bridget Gave Me Rabies or something. But also our friends the Jack Rubies have a new record coming out, which I'm super excited about. And I love this band so much. But I also love their band name. They're from Australia. They're called Shepperton Airplane. And
That's
the
cute.
album is called Forecast. And they're everything I love in sort of that like grimy sort of... They sound like The Fall. They sound like the Idols. They sound like Franz Ferdinand, but all at once. So I dig them a lot. That's kind of what I've been listening to music-wise. Concert-wise, I saw Ethel Cain when I was at DragonCon this year, and she was amazing. That was fantastic. I saw Japanese Breakfast, which was fantastic, and Buena Vista, the Buena Vista Jazz Club, which is basically a jazz orchestra of the Buena Vista Social Club. That was amazing as well. TV wise, there is like a million things out to stream. It's I'm losing my mind, right? So the Devo documentary, which is great. I know our friend Tuffley talked about that. There's a Sam Cooke documentary called Legend that's out as well. And I thought I would never ever say this in my entire life, but Paul Anka, His Way, it's on HBO Max.
So good.
Yeah, he was on Kimmel, and he was fantastic. And
he was, yes, we saw.
Yeah, and I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. And he has stories, right? He's in many ways one of the last men standing. So he's got all these stories, right? And then also, I know you guys are excited about this, but the St. Louis International Film Festival in November showed Man on the Run, and it was phenomenal. And I can't wait till you guys see it so we can talk about it. Book-wise, Our Secrets Are the Same, Friendship, Fame, and The Heart of Simple Minds by Charlie Burchell and Jim Kerr. It's a book about simple minds written by those guys. It's much more interesting than I expected it to be. Also, Blitz, the club that changed the 80s. It's about the Blitz Club in London.
Oh, yeah. Cool.
Which is really, 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 really good. And then a book coming out here in February that Daniel Rachel, who was on our show, who wrote a book on Two Tone Records, has a new book out called This Ain't Rock and Roll. And it is pop music and the swastika and the Third Reich. It's a history of Nazi imagery and Nazi sort of influences in pop music. And it's much more interesting and detailed than you might expect it to be. And it's pretty great. So that's on my list, because that sounds fascinating. Yeah. And that is my sort of list right now of stuff.
Well, wow. Stephanie, you got anything?
Okay. Well, I don't nearly have as many as Rob, and I know I can't remember documentaries, but because I know I did just see some recent. But anyway, I have 3 concerts / albums that I'm going to recommend. First is Ron Sexsmith's new album. It's so good. It's called Hangover Terrace. We saw him for the tour, and he's just like, every song on that is so beautiful. As always, I mean, all of his records are great, and he's got so many, but he's a very prolific guy. So I recommend Hangover Terrace. We also saw one of the best concerts of, I guess it was last year at this point, but the Milk Carton Kids and someone who opened, a female singer-songwriter who opened named Humbird, which her album is called Right On, and she's got like such a beautiful, clear, unbelievable voice. I highly recommend getting that. And also the Milk Carton Kids didn't have a new record. I think their last one was like 2023, but they were so great live. If they're coming around, you got to go see them. And those are my 3 picks.
I finally got around to, and this may be back in November, I finally got around to watching the Cyndi Lauper documentary, which was wonderful. I loved every second of it. And I watched it right before there was the Grammys did a special tribute where it was basically a Cyndi Lauper concert. And she had like guests on, and Cher was there, crazy. But she is, retiring from touring. But I know, these people won't ever retire from music, from being creative or whatever. So I know she's still going to be doing stuff. But I've had friends who went to that last tour and were like blown away by it. Yeah. And she still sounds, there are moments when she doesn't quite hit a high note, like as solid as she, but for the most part, she still sounds great for her age. She just sounds, amazing. So I highly recommend that documentary, because it is, if you have any interest in Cyndi Lauper, and it's interesting to watch the way that she presents herself publicly shifted over the years. Because at the beginning, she was very kind of like the ditzy, weird girl, and that dropped after a while. And she became, kind of a serious. Yeah. She was never too serious. Let's just say that. But for Christmas, I got the Wings book, which was a band on the run. And it kind of goes along with that new film that's coming out, McCartney, A Man on the Run. They both tell the same story. And in fact, the guy who put the book together, it's an oral history of Wings. So he interviews everybody, and it's all direct quotes from band members and promoters. And the crazy thing is audience members from like very early shows and stuff like that. And the craziest thing, there are a couple of quotes in the book from one of the guards when McCartney was under arrest in Japan in 1980 for marijuana possession.
Yeah.
There's quotes from the guard that was, guarding his cell.
Wow.
That's insane. But it was a wonderful book. If you've listened to this show, I'm a huge Wings fan. And I'm so excited about seeing this film when it comes out. And it starts streaming on Prime. That's it. I couldn't remember what streaming service it is, but it's on Prime February 27th. And I'm so excited to see it.
I can't wait. I cannot wait.
And then the book I'm currently reading is one of my favorite journalists and podcasters, Alan Light, radio host, has a new book, Rumors.
Oh,
it is like it, and it's basically why Rumors still matters and why we all still love it so much.
Oh,
and he does a little bit of history of the band, and then he does an analysis of every song, and it's a very thin book. So I'm looking forward to, because I'm not a fast reader, but I'll be able to get through this one really quickly.
Cool.
But it's interesting. It's a great book, and I've got other ones that I'm waiting to read. And honestly, I still got ones I got for Christmas 3 years ago that I still haven't read. So, now that I've had cataract surgery, I'm back to reading like a fiend, and I'm so excited about it.
I know.
All right. So that's us for this week. I have no idea, once again, what we're going to be doing in our next show, but it'll be something good, just like this one was.
Yeah.
I hope. Stephanie, where can people find more about you?
Okay. You can find me on Stephanie Seymour Music on Facebook. You can find me at _r_birds on Instagram. And you can find me on Bandcamp under my name. And you can find me on Spotify and all the streaming platforms under my name. Rob.
Cool, Rob.
So I do want to sort of mention this real quick. You can, if you are in an independent bookstore or online, you can purchase the book Billy Bragg, A People's History, of which I have a couple essays in. It's done by Billy Bragg. It's exhausting history of Billy's music, and I got asked to write a couple things for that, so that's out now. And then so please buy that. That would be great. You can listen to me on a couple places. On Mondays, you can listen to me on Antics on Louder Than War Radio, which is 6 to 8 Greenwich time, 12 to 2 Central, 3 to 5 Eastern. Then later that day, Monday night, from 5 to 7 Eastern, 6 to 8 Central, you can listen to me on the Face Radio out of Brooklyn, New York, with a show called The Free Design, which is on that station. And then I'm doing a show for Eardrum Buzz Radio out of Los Angeles, Saturday mornings at 8 a.m. and 8 p.m. Central Time, and that's on Pacific Time, which I don't understand, so you can look that up. But that show, I do 2 new shows a month, and then each show repeats, which is great. And then starting February 1st, coming to Crystal, which is Community Radio St. Louis, our new internet station here. Juxtaposition will be beginning year 30, broadcasting in the big city. So that's all the places you can find me. You can find me on all the social platforms as well, Insta and the Book of Face and Blue Sky and LinkedIn and Albatross or whatever the hell it is the kids are using these days. So, yeah.
Alan, where are your new books? Where can they be found, and what are they?
Well, not on Albatross, unfortunately. But if you just go to my website, cosmiccreative.com, KOZMIC creative.com, you'll find them as well as my other podcasts. So everybody have a great week. We'll see you in 2 weeks. We're going to be talking about something. I don't know what. We'll figure it out between now and then. So everybody take care, and we'll see you next time.
Peace out, yos.
Word.
This has been a broadcast of the ESO Network. Be part of the crew and help support our shows by donating to our ESO Patreon or by shopping for the TeePublic store, which can all be found at www.esonetwork.com. The ESO Network, your station for all things geek.